Attention, attention. All units report to your favorite podcast stat. This is That's So RN, where we decode the chaos, call out the cracks, and care a little louder. Let's scrub in.
Oh my goodness. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of That's So RN. Today we will be discussing gatekeeping, nurses eating their young, and all things surrounding that. I'm also really excited because today we will be featuring my first ever segment of Code Confidential. Code Confidential is basically where people submit anonymous stories, questions, comments, concerns. I read them on here, of course, not revealing who you are, just to protect you. And if it's a question or something that I can answer, give advice to, or just speak on, then I will do that. So let's get started. Firstly, gatekeeping. What is gatekeeping? By definition, gatekeeping is literally any activity of some sort that you're using to, control access of another person getting something, whether that be a job, a position, whatever. You kind of having a say and essentially causing them to not get that thing. So with this, gatekeeping is literally not just, nurses being mean or healthcare workers being mean. It's literally them blocking your blessings essentially. And I know I talked about this on another episode previously. It's them blocking what you're able to do and have access to, whether that's knowledge, opportunities, just feeling like you belong there and should be in that environment. So firstly, new grads, that's a big one I see all the time, withholding information from them, basically saying, I had to find out the hard way, so you do too, and that's just all there is to it. Deal with it. It's more of like a humiliation type thing, and I don't agree with that. But making them feel some sort, of shame for just wanting to know simple things or wanting to grow and do better and just be the best possible person that they can be. Excluding travelers and agency from just regular team communication. I know a lot of the time we have people coming in and we're like, oh, well, they're just here for a limited time. I don't necessarily need to include them or make them feel a part of the team because they're just going to leave anyways. And that's not necessarily always the case. Or even if they are agency or float, whatever, you would be surprised. At my organization, we have several people that renew their contracts constantly, and they're there with us extended periods of time, longer than their 13-week stretch. And they do, I know there can sometimes be a rift between, regular staff and agency, but they do essentially become, a close-knit part of the team just because they are there for longer and they kind of know and grow with the unit, learn all their ways, how it operates and functions, and they just kind of meld and fall into the everyday routine of being part of that team. Blocking career progression or specialty transfers because you haven't paid your dues yet, right? That is another big one I see all the time. And the fact that some people have that power and are just willy-nilly going around blocking people from doing better simply because they can is so wrong to me. But again, that's something, especially in my organization, that I see all the time. And especially now, people wanting to leave med surge because it's very fast paced and it's only getting worse. And if they can't transfer, they just leave it altogether. But trying to transfer to maybe something that's a little bit slower pace or just to get a change of scenery, not necessarily wanting to leave indefinitely, but definitely needing a break. And as somebody who worked med surge, I get it. It can be a lot. It's just sometimes too much. And instead of giving up altogether, you just need a break like you would with anything else, right? Because we are all humans. So nurses eating their young. Why does this happen? I feel like a lot of the times it's just by default, they're upset about something, but it might not necessarily be you. You're just the immediate target or person that's right there, and they're just taking everything out on you. And I'm not saying that that's right at all, but sometimes that's the case. They have nowhere else to output this energy, and you're right here with me. So you're who I'm going to give it to. They're tired, they're burnt out. Some of it is power struggle. People love to be in power. They love to try to use the hierarchy of, like, I'm a charge nurse or I'm a senior nurse. And it's something that I'm not really sure where it started, but it's gotten better, but I continue to see it. People just using their hierarchy to essentially tell people they need to know their place. Everyone has a place, and we all have different scopes of practices and things that we do, but that should not be taken as I've been here longer, I can tell you what to do, or know your places, and you have to listen to me and do what I say type scenario. Let's see, generational trauma. We've had it worse. Some people believe in suffering to earn respect. I don't agree with that either. Nursing is hard enough. Healthcare as a whole is hard enough. Why are we making people suffer? Teach them the tricks, trades, and ways that we can be more conducive and productive together. If you're constantly fighting with somebody or trying to make it a competition and you're worried about butting heads with this person over, taking care of your patients and having a productive day and getting things done, who's really the issue? You. You may have all these issues and things going on around you, and that might be the true culprit of why you're feeling the way you're feeling. But in turn, it's making you the problem because you're now taking out everything on one person or a selective group of people. Horizontal violence. So I know a lot of the time we like to talk about vertical violence, which is just, mistreatment and things from upper tier to lower tier. Horizontal is literally violence, aggression, all those things from your peers. From your peers. Like I said before, they're taking it out on the people that are closest to them, not realizing that they're in the thick of it with them, and they're working hand in hand, side by side with them, and are probably going through the same thing or possibly even worse, but you're not taking the time to try to see what's going on. If we took that amount of, patience and passion that we had towards our patients and just extended that towards our peers, that could kind of mitigate some of the problems we're having and possibly take away from, those violent or unprofessional, unstable, uncomfortable working environments. Nobody want to work in hostility. So just being mindful that we are extending that same grace to those around us, and just being mindful when we're doing things, saying things, how we're acting. And even if we feel like it's not coming off one way, we're not the person on the receiving end. So if they do, decide to say something or speak out against it, you should be, with an open mind, open ears, open heart. So now we are on to code confidential. That's where the sirens are supposed to sound off, but obviously there are none. But pew, pew, pew. So yes, I will be reading, let's see. I will be reading a story from a viewer. So if this is you, thank you for submitting your story. There were a trillion of them, and I've been really bad about filtering through everything, but I will drop my email in the link below, or drop it in the description below, excuse me, and I will flash it across the screen once I post the video. So this is called Should I Try Again? Dear That's So RN crew, I am a newer nurse and I feel very stuck. So currently I work on a med-surg unit, and I feel as if all of the newer grads are practically forced to go there. But in school, I fell in love with the thought of being a labor and delivery nurse. That was something that I really enjoyed in school, and I excelled when we got to that portion of our program. Well, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something in me that belonged there, and that I belonged to the unit already and to that specialty. So after applying, I finally got the chance to work a shift and shadow an established labor and delivery nurse. It was everything I imagined it to be and more. I went ahead and accepted an interview. A few of my classmates work on the unit and went straight there from school, not stopping at med surg or any other specialty before getting the job in labor and delivery. And they sung their high praises. I went through an interview with the manager and then with peers. I found out a couple of days later that I didn't get the job. So fast forward to a month later, the position was reposted and I applied again. I did another shadow shift with a different nurse and the vibes were completely off. Everything was different from the shadow shift to the interview. And it's almost as if things were being done for show or just to say they had given me another chance. The staff was very cold and I left the entire process feeling defeated. I ended up applying and getting another job in my department, in my hospital, in our pediatric department. 3 weeks went by. I was really starting to enjoy my job and getting the hang of being a pediatric nurse. Plus, it was really fun and my coworkers were great. I had already gotten several notes of recognition in this department and was even nominated for a Daisy Award. Go girl or guy. Several of my old classmates reached out to me, telling me to reapply to the labor and delivery position because it had been reposted and stated that they would even put in a good word for me. They even went as far as having the manager reach out to me via email and ask me to consider reapplying as I would be an asset to them and their team. I really love my peds job and don't know if this is a sign that the opportunity is open back up for me to be a labor and delivery nurse, but so many thoughts are going through my head. Should I give it a shot and apply again to possibly have my dream job, or should I stick with what I know? So firstly, I will say this as somebody who also wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse and who has also interviewed for a position in labor and delivery and just Pink World in general several times. And I also ended up being a peds nurse after not getting a labor and delivery job. I would say stick with your job that you have now. And that's just me personally. You don't have to take that advice, but I would stick with the job I have now. And I say that because it would be great if you got the job, but sometimes rejection is redirection, and we are redirected for a reason, and we might not always know the reason or understand, and that always comes out later down the line. But I wouldn't go back to it because who's to say you won't get the job, and then because they kind of switched up on you before, hate it and not have fun and not enjoy the job and not want to be there, and now you're stuck because you can always transfer, of course, but I'm sure they're not going to just do a quick turnaround within a week getting you to another department or back to your other job. Or who's to say they won't have your old job filled by then? So if I were you, I would run very, very far away. People like that, I don't trust, because if you can see, my value in things after the fact and you just want it to make you look good, then I'm not a circus monkey. I'm not a show pony. I work hard for a reason, and no, we don't always work just for recognition. We work because we love what we do, and we love our jobs, and we love taking care of people and helping people. But I won't let that be the reason that y'all have me on y'all department. And then when the lights are off or the cameras are off, y'all are treating me like crap. So if I were you, I would not personally go back to that job or try to reapply. I would let things be as they are, let it rest. And they just know now that they missed out on a great person and a great nurse. And you are obviously flourishing and thriving where you are. So stay there. Don't go back with them people, because you might get there and they might stress you out. And who wants to deal with that? I would not put myself in that position, nor do you have to deal with that, because you already have that securement. You already have that comfortability with your job. So I say stay in your peds job. Don't go to your L&D job that they wanted you to be in. because now she's probably trying to save face. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So, what are some of the other hidden forms of gatekeeping? Professors and preceptors that discourage non-traditional or late career nurses. That absolutely burns me up. I feel like we're so stuck on in a perfect world, in a perfect world, in a perfect world, not realizing that people don't always do things, a certain way. I'm not going to say the right way, a certain way. I know now a lot of our new grads are younger. They are, getting straight into nursing school out of high school. They know what they want. They're doing all the things. That's something I would consider a traditional way of doing nursing or being in the healthcare field. Me, when I was in school, I had a lot of, people that were older in my class, and I admired, their hard work and dedication. Some of them 20, 30 years in their career, and people from all over. Accountants, lawyers, wanting to change careers and do something different. I think that would be a hard adjustment for anybody. So the fact that they, set their minds to do those things and came on over to the nursing world, I admire them, but you could definitely see, how they were treated by some of the professors and preceptors versus, us when we were working together as peers. So also, cultural things. You don't look like a nurse. You don't sound like a nurse. I feel like healthcare is getting to a place where it's being more open about certain things. You can walk around with pink hair and nobody's, bat an eye. Or you can have tattoos, different things like that. Now, there is always that outlier situation or that outlier person. Some of the older generation doesn't always necessarily agree with, people taking care of them that have all those things going on. So, and that is, again, what we're conditioned to do in school. Have natural hair colors. If we have tattoos, we have to wear long sleeve or cover them up with Band-Aids, all those things. We can't have accents or, certain genders, especially my males. This is a woman-dominated field, nursing. There's a lot of healthcare people that are male, but nursing in specific, our men get a lot of flack. Our poor men, they just want to come and do their job, and they just get so much flack from coworkers, from patients, and they're just not what one would typically think of as a nurse. But I know a lot of male nurses, and they are great at what they do. And it's always good to have that help around, that little muscle, especially when you need to scare somebody or get them to act right or do something. They ain't going to act up if that male's in the room. So educational gatekeeping mechanism, really big on the floors. Do you have an ADN? Do you have a BSN? Baby, we getting paid the same. And especially when I got my BSN and I figured out that I wasn't going to get a raise, I was so pissed. I'm like, so I'm just going to make the same as when I had my ADN. For all that, I could have just kept it. Saved myself the trouble of going through school and paying money for me to just get paid the same amount. DNP versus MSN, same thing. Using those degrees to leverage, how you're treated or what treatment you get or what you can and can't do. It can be a lot. Social media policing. Online nursing influencers getting called unprofessional for being human and fashionable. We see a lot of people now wanting to be content creators and influencers, and people get so hell-bent on, what nursing should be or how nursing is, and not realizing that these are people too. I'm paying money, I'm working hard, I'm paying my taxes, I'm doing all those things. If I want to look cute, which I would never wear those scrub jumpsuits, by the way, but I see several people in them. If I want to wear a scrub jumpsuit and look cute at work while I'm doing it, let me do what I need to do and mind my business, which I don't necessarily want to have a one piece on at work and have to get pretty much booty butt naked to go to the bathroom several times a day. Like, I'm good on it. But just knowing that they're human too, they're allowed to do those things. And I think this just puts me back to the aesthetic, the nursing aesthetic. People worked hard in school. We got through school. We are working. We're getting paid. I should not have people managing my time, my money, telling me what I can and can't do on social media, what I can and can't wear, how I can and can't act at the end of the day. So the psychology behind it, the scarcity mindset, and that's not just in nursing, in healthcare in general. So many people walking around here thinking there's only room for one person to succeed and do well. And that becomes a problem because then they see other people doing well and shining and making changes, and they are threatened. So when they're threatened, what do? They try to diminish that person's light. They try to diminish, their successes and the things that they're doing. And you should never let anybody downplay you or what you got going on. Because we can all always do better. And, it could be worse for a lot of us, and it's not. So we just need to be mindful and be grateful and know that we can all eat. We can all eat, we can all win, we can all do good, and we can all be successful. And I find that those are usually the most successful people, the ones that had people in their corner, boosting them up, encouraging them to some extent. And then on the other end of that, it's the people who didn't have nobody in their corner, and it's just like, oh, well, I'm going to show you. And they really work hard for what they got. And some people aren't willing to put in the work, and that's another reason why they're jealous. They just want to have it because they're entitled and they think that they deserve it. But no, Bookie, it don't work that way. No tinker put, you gotta walk, you got to work. So, nurses projecting frustration for fear of being replaced and outdated. Just like I said before, trying to dim their light. Us newer nurses coming on, which I am, like I said several episodes ago, I can finally say I'm like a little nursing vet. But like I'm 30. Some of them older nurses, when I come on the floor, I'm always, doing my thing, and I'm okay with putting in the work. I'm okay, and I'm never above learning. And the things and the perspectives that I bring are sometimes refreshing. And I have a doctorate degree. Some people are truly threatened by that. And for me, it's just like, I worked hard, I got the degree, yeah, great, but like that doesn't change anything other than adding a title to my name. I'm still going to come and do the work that I need to do. I'm still can learn whatever you want to teach me. I'm open to all of it, and I'm not above it. But some people are not trying to hear that. They're like, oh, you coming for my job, you're coming for my spot. I'm not going to help you in any way. I'm going to do everything possible that I can to tear you down or to make sure you can't get to the next level or can't get to where you need to get. And I have a segment about this later down the line, but I have been trying to get into leadership and management for a long time, and the amount of people that have gate kept me from just, simple stuff, not allowing me to enroll in certain classes that would be a benefit to me as a leader, or doing things I've had to go out of my way to do things on my own because people have made it their mission, their life's mission, to put obstacles in my way so that I can't grow. And every time I come, even though I'm, having to pay a little bit more money and do other things, every time I come back with a new, certification or something like that, they're like, oh, dang, she did that. And it's just like, yes, because if I set my mind to something, I'm going to do it, and you're not going to get in my way regardless. And that's how it should be for everybody. Don't let nobody get in the way of what's for you or what you want to do. There is nobody that can be you and do you better than you can. So do what you need to do to get where you want to get. And when you get there, show out. Just like that. Institutional hierarchy. Hospitals do not reward, endurance, empathy. They reward endurance. So really big on loyalty. A lot of my coworkers that have been there, they like to fuss. I've been here for 20 plus years. I shouldn't have to deal with this. Okay, that's nice. So for a lot of people, emotionally detaching and having some sort of control is considered power moves to them, because they're not to say they're not there for the right reasons, but they're not necessarily there to be understanding and see what others need and kind of grow the next generation or those around them. They're kind of just like, I've been here. This is how it's always been. This is how we've done things. And that's just what it's going to be. And we're not having that. So I had done like a little bit of research on just different generational dynamics in the healthcare field as a whole. So our baby boomers or our boomers, so these people were born in the year 1946 to 1964, and these are the main ones that have pride in endurance. I walked up the hill both ways, front, back, side, left, right, whatever. And I've been here, like I said before, however many years, and you just have to deal with it. I've earned my place. I've paid my dues. That's just what it is, my way or the highway. It's been done this way for decades, and I'm not changing it just because you come and tell me so. So our Gen X, so 1965 to 1980, I feel like this generation is kind of just like watching everything unfold. They're kind of like, yeah, it's affecting me, but can I really do anything about it right now in this immediate moment? Probably not. So it is what it is, and I'm honestly not going to stress myself out and worry about it. Millennials, this is my age group. So 1981 to 1996. We want balance and we want recognition. Before, I was all about the money. I would practically kill myself at work, working 1,000,000,000 hours just to be making bank, right? But now that I'm older, I'm starting to want to family plan, eventually get married, have more children, buy land, have a house, all those things. I just want work-life balance, a job that's not going to stress me out too much, because I can't say not stress me out because healthcare as a whole is stressful, and I will never find a job that's not stressful. But where I have a good balance, and when I'm done with work, I can leave it at work and come home and enjoy, my family. And then being recognized. Recognition is not everything, no. But if I'm busting my tail, please recognize me. Some way, somehow, any time. It don't have to be every day. But if I'm somewhere and I've been there years without any type of recognition, I'm going to be like, okay, like, well, you don't see me over here busting my tail. So that's that. Gen Z, these are the no limit soldiers, y'all. They value boundaries and mental health. These are the ones that will up and quit a job that they only been working for 2 hours just because they feel like it, or they made them mad, or they pissed them off in some way, shape, or form, or they just don't like it anymore. They will literally leave and quit without a second thought, without a notice. Like, bye, y'all can figure it out. And I love that for them, but I also don't. I love that for them because that's great that you are like prioritizing yourself, go you. But I also don't love that because the rest of us are on the floor short, and like, I need you to come back. I need you to come back and help. And maybe put it into 2 weeks so we could try to, figure something out in the meantime. But sometimes, these things can cause moral injury, just the different dynamics between the different generations. And sometimes, though, that clash in values and different things that are priority to them can come off as laziness. I know some, for the older generation, may think the younger generations are lazy and don't value hard work, and then are disrespectful. I know for me, I might have shared this before. I had gotten to it with one of my coworkers because she tried to say that Gen Z and millennials and all that were lazy. And it's just like, no, girl, we're just fighting a whole lot of more expensive battles, than you were back when you were our age. So breaking the cycle. How can we break this cycle and kind of move, from pain to progress with these people? We can try implementing things like healthy gatekeeping. So what does healthy gatekeeping look like? Protecting our patient's safety, protecting and knowing our scope of practice so that we don't cause harm. And then, having those ethical boundaries. This goes back to all these people posting on TikTok, making videos on YouTube, Reels, things like that are not appropriate or might be, sensitive or harmful, hurtful to patients or patient population that they're dealing with. We can also refine and redefine what paying your dues looks like. So, make it about growth and achieving those milestones, and not necessarily about, humiliating rituals and making sure that you show a person better than you can tell them and teaching them a lesson that really doesn't need to be taught. We can build a mentorship culture. So rewarding those who teach and not intimidate. And when I say teach, I mean teach the right things. Obviously, if we have a nurse or, respiratory therapist or whoever, a healthcare worker that's not teaching the right things, and they know it's not the right ways, and they're just teaching it just to say that they went through the steps, they taught the person, and they're not putting, a producive and productive, conducive member to the team out there, then what was the point? That was a waste for everyone. Reverse mentoring, having our new grads share insight with, some of the senior nurses, charge nurses. It works both ways, and it's a two-way street. So we don't always, as experts or vets, have to tell them stuff. It's okay to get a different perspective from them every now and again and kind of see where their head's at and what they're thinking about certain things. And then this is a big one, psychological safety, continuing to create that safe space where they can say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, without fear. It's okay to not know everything, and it's definitely okay to vocalize that. Again, I'd rather you tell me and me be like, okay, thank you for letting me know. If you don't know, here's some resources, or we can figure it out together, as opposed to you being scared, not saying anything, and now we didn't hurt or potentially, killed someone just because you didn't feel like speaking up. And never be, scared to offend anybody. For my baby nurses, my new grads, new RTs, new people in the healthcare industry in general, don't be scared. If y'all see something, say something, and don't worry about, oh, well, I told them this person, so now it's going to be this way, because you could have saved a life, or you could have, started a new way of doing things, or made them look at the way things are done and say, hey, maybe we need to change how we're implementing XYZ. You could have, been the pebble in the pond that caused the ripples and created a wave of change. Remember that. So kindness needs to be modeled out loud always. It takes 0 cents to be kind. 0. You can always be kind. Even when you think you can't be kind, you can. You always have the time to stop, think, and refrain from saying anything that might be harmful or detrimental to somebody else. That was a good little episode. I got my little venting out. We did a little Code Confidential segment. I'm really excited. So now we are going to shift on over to our mental health moment. So today's theme is empowerment. The task: take control of your own career path and choose compassion over criticism. I will say this. For the longest, I was so scared of what people thought, or I would do something and I would get another degree and people would have so much to say, or tell me, oh, well, with this degree, you should go this route and you should do this. I know what I want at the end of the day, and I know how I want to, conduct the way that I do things and how I get there. And that is such, the good thing about the healthcare field, because you could do anything. And that is probably the best thing I could have ever done with myself and for myself. Just taking control of what I want to do and making sure I do it how I want to do it, so that at the end of the day, I have no regrets. People gonna talk, whether it's good, bad, they're always gonna have something to say. You don't have to feed into the negativity and the BS. You always can rise above it and ignore them. And sometimes it's hard, because when people be saying stuff, it's like when you walking off and you done said your piece and you walk off and they like whisper something slick and you just like, what? People are always gonna have something to say. So just choose the high road every time, no matter how hard. Be kind and just use their criticism as fuel. Take it as, constructive feedback and keep it pushing. So on next week's episode, we are going to talk about what kind of nurse or healthcare worker you want to be and how do you build beyond orientation. So sometime this week, I want you guys to open a door for another nurse, share a resource, give a compliment, just be a safe space for somebody. That is y'all's other task for the week. So until next time, thank you guys for joining and watching. That is it for That's So RN, and I will see you guys later. Bye.